papers on your chairs and pencils being passed out. That was to help generate some initial conversation, but also to ensure that if you don't feel comfortable asking the question out loud, you have a means for asking that question anyhow. Barbara's going to go over some of our ground rules.
Okay, obviously, we're all here for a common good. Hopefully it's good. And we want to encourage or say that there's not going to be any tolerance for personal attacks. This is not a time for a vendetta. This is a time to get the center up and functional and being a useful part of the community. So no personal attacks. Step up and step back. What this means is you're stepping up, you're asking your question, you're making your comment, and then you're sitting down. There's a lot of people in the room. Everyone has a voice. Everyone needs to have their voice heard. And so we're not going to allow anyone to limit or control the conversation or the time of the meeting. We will be keeping time, and it's an invisible book that we're not going to show you where it is, but we will pull you off at whenever we feel, whenever your time is up. So we're all here. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it positive, and let's remember we are here to have a great LGBT center for the community that's going to serve your needs and the needs of generations to come.
And I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I take for granted the fact that I may not know everybody. So I'm Sarah Demarest. I'm staff attorney with the LGBTQ Law Center. I'm here because I've moderated many conversations before, and all of these rules also, as an additional point, go both ways. So from the board also, and from the community, just respect on both ends.
I have a question just about the proceedings. I see a camera. Are we recording?
Yes.
So the proceedings are being recorded?
Yes. And if you feel uncomfortable, again, you can write down your question on paper, and then just hand it to who can collect questions here. Right here in the back. Tell me your name.
James.
James will collect questions and bring them up, and we have them categorized, so we'll try to go topic by topic. All right. Ready for the first question? Yes.
Is there a time that you're expecting to end this?
We'd like to end it at 5:30 ideally. 5:30 ideally. Okay. All right, so there are a lot of questions. Let's go for, let's see. Okay. Let's first talk about the center in general. So the first question, with the center being badly in need of funds, why are there so few events here? And what is currently being done to fix the problem of events? So I think this is a programming question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ramzino Frazier. I'm the newly appointed chair since Roberta has stepped down. Currently, we have planned to have at least 2 events a month here at the center, and that is due to we have a lot of programs, which we do have a list of the programs that we have on a daily basis throughout the week and the month. The programs that we have had here, we have not had a high participation from the community. Prime example, I did come in my first, I want to say for a couple of weeks here, I had a scandal event party. I want to say after the community, we had maybe 4 people show up. I went out, and it did not come from the center's budget, nor did anyone have to pay for anything. I paid for everything out of pocket myself to make sure this event was good. No one showed up. There was proper advertising for 2 and 3 weeks before the actual event. Also, we had the Olympics. We did have a lot of participation from a lot of people in the community for that, but it could have been greater. So we do have events at the center. We do advertise them. If you check out the website, if you come in, we do have a list of programs and events that will be taking place throughout the month and the year for the center.
Does the community have any further questions?
Why do you think that is?
Really, I believe that a lot of people have a lot of personal, not trying to crush rules, but I feel like it's a lot of, this is my personal opinion, there's a lot of personal issues with certain members of the board and the community. And I feel like a lot of us need to look past that. It's not about what you believe, it's about the whole LGBT community as a whole. So you're not supporting that one person, you're supporting the community and come participating. And that's also helping generate funds for the center to remain open.
Yes, you're in agreement.
My first question is, what was the event that you said? I didn't hear the type of event it was.
I had a scandal party.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like a scandal watch party. We came in, had popcorn, wine was served as well.
And my second question was, what can we do to bridge the gaps between the people in the community in order to bring them in? If it's a personal thing, what can we do, or what is the board doing reach those people and to move past those barriers?
Well, hopefully that's what we can, fix that issue here today. I'm glad to see a lot of people are in attendance. And that's what I hope this dialogue can be about, bridging that gap to get everyone on one page and on one chord so that we can get more participation throughout the community with supporting the center.
Here and then here.
Christian?
Yeah, you mentioned that you put money yourself, to finance an event, and hopefully that was a fundraising event. How much money was raised from the event, and do you think it's effective to run an event or an organization with your own funds when it should be working as a good business for the community, generating those funds and really bringing people together to donate money? Like you said, people don't feel identified with many board members, and just you said, like, have personal problems with some board members, and shouldn't we have someone that are totally likable by the entire community? Talking neutrally about it.
And I understand that what you're saying. With that, I believe the raise, was it 200 for the Stanley Party? It was 200 with that Stanley event. That was from donors and also other organizations within the gay community. And I took it upon myself to do a lot of the personal background work because this was an event that I wanted to do. And I didn't want it to be a burden on the center. I don't understand why have an event that's going to take from it and not knowing how much we're going to make with it. You know what I'm saying? It was a general public event, so I wasn't sure exactly how many people was going to come. So I would rather put in my funds to, help make it a great event than to take away from the center and no one show up.
And I think one of the things that would probably help, and we've discussed this, is to do a needs assessment. Because maybe no one's interested in scandal. And that's the thing, is to kind of ask the community, what are you interested in? Because the ideas are coming up and there are things happening, but maybe people aren't interested. And that really is the best thing, is to go out and ask the community exactly what they want.
James?
Okay. Well, let me address Glenn. We're all adults. And, when you have an event about pitching balloons and running around in sack races and stuff, a lot of us aren't interested in that type of event. If you had a dinner, like, not here, but at a restaurant or some type of fundraiser, like a lot of us be interested in that. And get back to the other, to Rand. I'm curious to why the center would schedule an event on May 17th, Veterans Park, in conflict with an event that we've had for 5 years in Charlotte of the drag race. And that was a conflict. And I don't understand why. And I asked the question and nobody answered.
Okay, I can answer that question because I'm the one that actually discussed it with everybody. First of all, I apologize. The drag race is something that I'm not familiar with. And when we sent out a date, the original date was actually the first Saturday in June. Well, those that wanted to participate, within the black community, go to Sisters for Sisters Only. A lot of the lesbian women wanted to participate in the event, and that's not a day that was good for them. So I said, okay, well, why don't we just move it to the next available Saturday, which was the 17th. And everybody that wanted to participate, including those other 3 teams that were not of the African descent, said that was fine. So we just moved it to the 17th. Again, I apologize. I didn't realize that was it won't happen again, because what we'll do is the community will let us know of all the events and it all needs to go on a calendar so that we don't conflict. Because a lot of us conflict. And I think that's one of the issues.
There's a community calendar.
Wait,
Yeah,
we're not recognized. We have to keep rules of order, so make sure everybody's recognized before they speak.
I still got the floor.
No, you asked your question. Now you're answering.
It's related. It's on into the same thing. She answered that part of the question. The other part was, they talking about the calendar. And the Facebook has a calendar. And also there was no event posted on Facebook for us to see, even though the center has a Facebook account.
I was aware that there is a calendar. Like I say, I'm new into the President's Board, so I'm trying to find, I'm getting details of everything that's going on so that I'll know and I can pass it on to the board. At the time, when we had our meeting, we were trying to figure out dates, but we can't keep pushing things back because of other events that's taking place. Also, with that being a park and rec event, we had to go with the park and rec schedule. Those are dates that weren't available. And in order for us to have that event for that month, we had to have either of those 2 days.
But it was obvious that it did hurt you financially, so y'all made 200 compared to 6,500 on the other event.
Thank you, Janice.
So I just want to say, first of all, thank you all for your time and your service. I imagine that this is challenging. I was here 19 years ago with Bert and several other people in the community when we first thought about having a center. And it originally started as an online service resource delivery. And one of my challenges is I've seen the excitement, the thrill, the need for a center, and then I've seen a lot of falls, right, and trying to get back up. But what I think this issue over this event that happened on the same day, I mean, we're a big city. There can be several events going on, all right? The question becomes, what's the vision of the center? What's the strategic plan when it comes to fundraising? And I don't mean to jump ahead, but this is small potatoes, right? The big potatoes that I think we're tired of having the same discussion about is where do you want to be 5 years from now as a center? And I'll let you answer, right? But I have a lot to say here. And sadly, because I have built an organization from $30,000 to $500,000 the last 8 years, I know it takes an active board. It takes a dedicated executive director. And so I know it takes challenges. It takes a strategic plan. It takes a fundraising plan. And it's still a challenge every day because I have to raise that money every year. And so I get that. And so that's where I want this discussion to be. And I also think one of the reasons why people don't show up for events is because they've lost the belief in the center. And you can't get that back overnight, nor do I know that it's going to come back with the current center. It might be best with the current financial situation to take the difficult decision, which is to let the organization shut down and give a rebirth with a true community, thoughtful plan that starts out with a website, that starts talking about space, and if we should have space with the Freedom Center, we should have space that's shared with other organizations. Campus Pride came a year and a half ago and asked about that little room up there, right? And I asked how much would it cost for Campus Pride to own space within the center. It took 4 months to get one response about that, right? And I was told it was going to cost $1,100 for that conference room. And I was like, well, I know what your mortgage is. I know how much you're paying. That's ridiculous. You become stupid, right? So that's the type of lack of leadership and the decisions that are being made at the center that are really, really ignorant. Because Campus Pride would have been working from 9 to 5 in the space, when the doors, I don't think, are even open. So there's a lot of community discussion, collaboration, some difficult decisions, I think, that need to be made beyond whether or not we have a sack race in the middle of the afternoon.
And I'd like to we have that same question 3 more times here. So.
I guess I'll start with the budgeting and the financial aspect. A lot of people I've heard within the past 24, 48 hours, me being a young person, what experience do I have? I actually have worked with a 501c organization, which is the United Negro College Fund, in which they are a nonprofit organization. I was with them and I was president for a year, well really 2 years really pretty much on the board. So I do have the background, I do have the experience to carry this center to where it needs to be. In my letter, in which I brought a letter for everyone, if you would like to see it, if you would like to come get one, please come do it. For my belief and the board's belief, because we've had a meeting since I've been in office about the situations that have come about and situations with the center and within the community. So I believe in creating a budget, creating a fiscal year budget, so that everyone will be able to see, let you all know what the issues are, what the pressure points are, and what we need to focus on at that major time. So I do believe in getting a budget. I do believe in creating events throughout the year and pushing them, and so that everyone in the community knows. As far as with the space, at that time I was not here. I don't know who you spoke with at that time. And what I do want the community to know is that I can only take responsibility for what I've come to now. I can't take responsibility for what has happened 2006, 2002, 99, 98. I really cannot take that responsibility. I can only take the torch and run with it and make it better. I have talked with people about creating a new website as of yesterday. I did contact someone. They're supposed to get back to me about creating a new website so that it's a little more upbeat, a little more up to date, a little more interactive things on the website for the community. Also, I want to see this amount of people at our meetings, at our town halls, so that we can know what's going on in the community. So like I said, I don't know exactly who was talking to you at the time, but I apologize for that. I mean, like I said, it's not my responsibility, but as chair, I do want to publicly apologize to you for that. And if you would like to relook the issue or the cause, I will be more than happy to be more than happy to talk to you about it.
Is there any more, are there any more responses from the board? Yes.
Hi, I just have two things to say. One is I have always felt, Teresa and I have been in the community here for about 10, 11 years now, and I've always felt that there's nothing more important than our center. It really should be the center hub for all of our LGBT organizations. And it needs to be democratically elected, and it needs to be absolutely, positively transparent. And the people that we are, as members, can vote for, that everybody who wants to be on the board should be able to say something about why they want to be on the board, and we can pick and choose who is on that board. Okay? And I made a suggestion a few months ago, which may have fallen on deaf ears, but saying that we are blessed with LGBT organizations in our community that know how to put things together. They know how to run things economically. And the board, whatever board we elect, and it shouldn't be them appointing people, it should be us, the members, electing them, that whoever it is then should be drawing from the best and the brightest for at least for data gathering. So that the organizations that have been very successful, been winning awards, been running for many years, should be able to be pulled and accessed from to weigh in on their wisdom so that we can have a professional board that is elected, that can pay someone as a director so that it can go on and on for years and do professional fundraising, so that we can just look at the other organizations like, RAIN or Time Out Youth or what other organizations in our community that we respect and feel have run properly and use the same kinds of techniques. Okay? That's number one. And so that then we all feel like we really have a voice in it. And secondly, any suggestions that any of our members put forward for rules, potentially, for bylaws, for whatever, should be given due consideration. I don't know if it's a story or a rumor or whatever. I had heard that someone put in some time to make some suggestions of some of the bylaws, and that one individual took it upon themselves not to share it and consider it and to think about it, but just to tore it up. And that is not going to build community, right? So I don't know if that's just it could be just a rumor. I don't know. I'm not on the inside track here, but all of us should be on the inside track. So just to that end, I would like to suggest respectfully that the financial problems that have been going on apparently from who knows what should be investigated by the board and find out exactly what happened and how it fell apart, or if it didn't, or what went wrong, what happened, and that we have a set date that we establish today, by which time we'll have a report of what exactly happened, and and suggestions going forward about how it can be rectified, such things can be avoided, and at that time also we have an open and free election for a new board that everybody can feel like they have a part of and can have their voice be heard, so that all the members of the board will be democratically elected. So that date and the date of the report prior to that should be established today, so we know that it's going to be solved, we're going to get a report, and we're going to have an election. And then we can see who is going to be in the best position in our community to serve on the board. That will be not a megalomaniac, so we've had those in lots of organizations in the past, right? But somebody that we really think is valuable and a diverse situation.
And if we could address hold off on the financial piece for a second, because we're getting there. We have a lot of questions about that, and just talk about the board. We have a few other questions that are related. How is the board elected currently? what are the current board's qualifications and experience that makes them capable of running the center? What positive results have you seen that have benefited the organization? And are any other board members considering stepping down?
Let's go board member by rather than Renzino talking for everybody, let's just have everybody speak up to their own experience and qualifications and intentions for the future.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jenny Richardson. I am, hey Janice. Let's see, I have actually been on board for a year now, almost quite a year now. My background is I have an MBA in healthcare administration. I also have a nursing background. I've also done a couple of other things in the community. I've worked on Pride for a couple of years in the community. I also work for the Farewell to Summer program, which has an organization. We do three different fundraisers. That's a one-time party for the year. We've raised about $90,000 last year at the party alone. Done a lot of just volunteerism across the Charlotte Black Kid Pride, a lot of different events. So, what was your other question? The vision of
what your future is with the center.
Oh, I definitely want to be involved in the center. I have had an opportunity to meet a lot of different people being on this board over just the last year. But even before that, I was actually a volunteer with the community center. I absolutely love what the community center represents as far as programming, providing opportunities, and just meeting people. So for me, it's a passion. I want to be involved. I don't want to step down from the board. It's not an ego thing. It's something that I absolutely enjoy doing. So I want to be involved. So whether it's the community center that I'm involved in, I'm still going to be involved in the LGBT community center, or the community, period. I don't know. I don't look like a typical lesbian, and I think that's funny. But I get that a lot. I don't look like a lesbian, and for me, that's the whole point of this. Is I have 2 grown children. I have 3 grandsons. I'm not your typical lesbian. I happen to be in love with a woman that I married last year. So for me, it's really about being involved. And so for me, it's providing. Now, unfortunately for me, my position's changed a little bit in my job, so I can't give as much time. But I try to give in other ways. I try to give financially, or try to give, again, of my time. So that's me.
We recognize you.
Any other comments from the board on the issue of board qualifications or the issue of...
Well, my name is Bert Woodard. I've been involved in the LGBT community for a long, long time. I'm former president of the Charlotte Business Guild. I was a long-time board member of the Business Guild. I brought the Business Guild into the Charlotte Chamber. I was involved as a volunteer on the HRC Carolinas Dinner Committee. I've been involved with NECPAC. I answered 3 chairs ago to join the center board as my time with the Business Guild board was ending, and thought it was a good fit. And all I've done was honor my 2-3-year term commitment as a volunteer, and I roll off June 30th. I have given it my all. I am a PR professional. And I've been on like 5 other boards that I will say have not been treated like this one has. And they've been both LGBT and mainstream. And so I'm not exactly without qualifications. So we have given it our best. And I do think there's one thing we have to consider when we talk about this, and Vic. So if we have a total community vote, then what the fund and other things want us to do with pure qualifications, I'm not sure that's going to, who knows how that's going to happen. So you could have more activists, you could have more professional. But, I've tried my best, and I'm at peace. And the other thing I'm going to say is that,
Time is up.
well, I do want to say, though, that the have to pay rent does make us unique for many organizations. Not all, but many.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments about qualifications or the possibility of a democratically elected
Did you
board?
still want us to hold the steakhouse down?
That's
fine.
if you want to. It's up to you.
My name is Crystal Long. I have been on the board a year, I remember the day I started, with pride coming into the organization. That was the first meeting I was at. But I currently am chair of the Charlotte Black Gay Pride. I have a master's degree in philanthropy and development. I think I'm educated. I think I have been involved as much as I can. I participate as much as I can. I financially support as much as I can. I'm not rich, but I do give something. And the bottom line is, I do my part. And so that's why I'm here. And I'll never step down without, giving what I can. That's just not my way.
I'm Roberta Dunn. I've been on board. It'll be my 4th year in June. I'm retired to take care of myself financially. I've spent 40 years in the computer/telecommunication industry. I ended up being the federal sales director for the most successful division within the company. The federal organization is the smallest group, but we brought more money into the company than all the other commercial groups combined. It was one of the top money producers for our company, I'll leave it at that. I ran a soccer organization. I was involved in it for 8 years. I was the vice president of it for 2 years and the president of it for 2 more years. We went from an organization of around 900 people to 1,700 young soccer players. We had 10 teams in the top 10 ranking nationally every year. So I think we ran a pretty good training program. It was the first one ever to provide training for all of our soccer players from 6 years old up. I also run the Carolina Transgender Society, which is the oldest transgender/cross-dressing group in the Carolinas. It was formed in 1988, and I've been there for 7 years as secretary and chair for 5 of those years. And I've been on board for 4 years.
We wanted to recognize Colleen. You had questions. No, I thought you already gave your
I can give more if there's more. I have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. I have a concentration in Business Administration. I've been a Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Deputy here. I've also worked with CMS. I've also worked, what else? I now work as a professional compliance supervisor at OnStar. I love working with the community. I've been in I want to say 3 or 4 council members, helping them with their fundraising events and getting onto the city council as well as with county commissioners as well, in which I have a great relationship with them. I am married to my partner, Mr. Gary Lee. He's the president of the Democratic Party, and today's our 2-year anniversary.
Interview responses to what you do. And it's a little bit confusing to me. And I will say that I was brought into all of this at a very late date. So I'm only here based on some facts that I did some research on because I'm facts oriented. So it seems to me if you, Jenny, raised $90,000 for an organization last year, I'd like to ask how much did you raise for the center last year? And then many of you have these amazing backgrounds combined. And a president serves a 4-year term for a reason. He gets 4 years to give it a shot to statistically change our country. If he's done a really good job, he'll get reelected. He hasn't done a very good job. We're going to ask him to step down and elect a new president. And the same thing goes for corporations, CEOs, vice presidents, executive directors, senior vice presidents, general managers all over the world are given a shot in those respective positions to better a company, expand the company marginally so you can see a difference, and expand the income and the growth. So it only makes sense to me to ask you as a board, why would you be an exception to the democratic country that we live in and corporate policy that we all live in and abide by, where if you're not producing, you should get to continue to stay doing what you're doing, because obviously there's a problem, and all together, you're not reaching the goals. Why should you be different?
Anybody else want to go first?
I'll actually go first on that one, because make sense that who you're talking about making those decisions is different when you're talking about a city council or county commission and a nonprofit organization like this. So if we're talking about the people who are paid members, absolutely, they should have a voice. And one thing I want to say, how much time do I have?
A minute and a half.
Since I'm the old guy on the block here, and I have not been around that long, but I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact, that after the incredible grassroots effort that started this amazing organization, which, by the way, has never closed its doors, it was, I don't know, Jim, you answer me, 2006, 2005, 2004, whenever it came close to going virtual, when it was at Central Avenue at its heyday, after Dan Kirsch left as ED, it almost closed. I've been on for 6 years, and I've been a part of some very talented people that would have the pedigree that's being talked about. It isn't easy. We don't have the heartstring, which is understandable, of a timeout used for rent. We pay rent. It is a building with programs. We came this close to closing before I was on the board to closing. It came that close. We survived. And in the two of this board's, and when I say this board, since I've been involved, two of our priorities, and these were across 3 different chairs, was A, to go full-time again, and B, to get back in 28205, because the decision was back then to go virtual or to go to North Carolina Music Factory, which this decision was made to do that. So we have not done good things.
Follow-up questions?
I was here back then, so I have a perspective, and I do think that there were some amazing people who stepped in who kept the center going at that time. There's no doubt about that. And I think it's important to recognize that when Dan left, Dan had a plan. There was a plan in place around fundraising and getting grants. That was never followed through with the next person who was hired, and it started falling apart. And I never saw that re-engaged, right? And I don't think I've ever seen since that point a 3-year, 5-year strategic plan about what we need to do as a center. And you can get as many wonderful, people that we have together with great backgrounds, but if there's not a plan to execute as a board, then you're not going to be effective. I learned that the hard way 8 years ago. I'm like, I have great people on my board, but there was never a plan, so they didn't really have a focus. And then we slowly started creating a 5-year strategic plan that put us on the path to where we are today. And that's the job of the board, is to implement that strategic plan, right? And so that's where I think maybe we went a little awry, is that when it started to fail and it almost shut down, there should have been a real serious discussion around what is our strategic plan. Is it better to have doors open and just make enough in fundraising where we can pay for our rent? Or is it better to take a year or two, do some real strategic planning, still serve our community, and actually go into intersectional spaces? So with some of the African American cultural centers, with some of the AIDS and HIV centers, and actually go into their spaces and build a real diverse LGBT community. In the meantime, get our board chair out there, going to the Queen City Drag Race, speaking on the microphone, exciting people about this new vision, getting them invested in the community. One of the problems with all of the people who are involved with the center is I don't see you outside of the center, right, in my circles. Now, I say that realizing that one of the things I respect of the center and love of the center is when I do see pictures or when I engage in the center, it's one of the most racially diverse parts of our community. So I want to recognize that, right? Because sometimes the circles that I play in are not very gender diverse. They're not very racially diverse. So I want to commend the center on that. And that's why it's so hard having this discussion, right? But I do think that we could be more intersectional, we could be more thought out, and I do think that sometimes people get burnt out. Sometimes they want to do well, but they just have no new ideas, or they don't know how to implement those ideas.
Thank you, Shane.
The answers to these questions.
Yeah. To answer your question about, the presidency, like I said, I just took it on 2 days ago. So what I'm asking the community is to give me a chance to show you what I can do. Don't shut me down before you give me a chance. I can't control the past. No disrespect to Roberta or what Roberta done to some organizations or what was, compromised with the center. But I'm the new face. I believe in the center, and it's not the board center, it is the community center.
What's your plan?
My plan is actually, this is one of them, to sit with you all and you all help me come up with a plan. It's not my job to come up with a plan that I believe in.
Yes, it is.
Well, no,
board chair.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, a board that, as a community, we come up with events and things together. My strategic plan and my goals that I'm going to set, I'm going to set them with the board, but as far as the community center, it is up to the community. It's up to you all to support the community. It's not our job to say, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what, we want to have this event, that event, that is not our job. That is what I want to change around. That is the role that I'm here to play. I don't mind taking responsibility for the stuff that we have done since I've been on the board since February. But since I've been here, I've gave great initiatives, great ideas, great fundraising. Two of them we have had. The first one wasn't that good. The second one has been better. Now that I am chair, I plan on taking it to another level. As far as, I'm sorry, I see you all hands. As far as with, going out and speaking in the community and going to different events, like when Matt told me about this meeting, I don't know unless I don't get an invitation. I don't know. So if you want someone from the board or you want the president to come, send an invitation. There's a proper way. Everyone wants to go, protocol and procedure. The procedure and protocol is to send an invitation to that president or to their organization and say, can you come and speak for the center? Can you come and speak for the center? I can't decide to show up to your party. Hey, I want to go. Can I come to your thing and speak tomorrow? I can't do that. That's not my
With all respect, until there is a leader in place like yourself, right, I'm not going to invite the center to come to an event until I know that there's a vision and a direction. And I believe it, because right now I don't believe it.
We'll go right there, and then we'll go back to Christian class.
My name is Andrew Porter, and I'm actually a resident of Kentucky, and I have a strong involvement with the LGBT nonprofit community, both within my state as well as the state of Tennessee. So I'm coming into this situation not knowing anything, and I want to start with that. But I'm going to call something that I think is both very rude to call, but it needs to be said. I study nonprofit leadership. It's my degree. Development is my specialty. The boards I've worked with, the issues I've dealt with, and this situation has arrived. You are the board scapegoat, and that's the reality. You have been now put into this chair position so that every time that we get into a situation where the past is brought up, and that is the problem from the community to the board, is the past, because the past happened. Your answer is every time, I take full responsibility as the new chair, but I can't help what happened in the past because I'm now here. It is my vision. And I want to call the board. The reality is that I hope that this happens. I think community centers are the most beautiful thing. The Nashville Community Center does so much for our community. Nashville Pride is doing amazing things right now, and a lot of it is through the center. But I see this happening, and I question how authentic is the dialogue today with every time the questions are asked. Several of your board members are saying nothing. Several of your board members are taking defensive stances. And then there you are standing up answering every question with the response, while I just stepped into this position.
Well, I told them I recommended that I answer most of the questions. If I feel like they're directed towards anyone else, I want that to happen. Why? And like I said, I'm not a scapegoat for anyone. And I talked to Mr. Yarborough yesterday. I'm not saying I don't care, but what happened in 2006 happened in 2006. All I can do is take from what I know from the past and move forward and build better bridges for the future and make everything better.
And I respect that, but whenever you have people in the audience who are saying, maybe it's best for the board to step down, maybe it's best for the doors to close, and for individuals to take time to evaluate, rethink of how the center can be an effective tool, and your response is, but I'm new. Don't shut my doors first. It's hard to have that conversation. I just wanted to draw the attention.
And I understand there are issues that this board has been through and that has been going on. But what I want to do is I want everyone to see this as a new day. We are here. We're in front of you. Everyone in this room that knows me, I am 100% real. I am transparent. Whatever you want to know, I will tell you. I don't care.
But perhaps you shouldn't be the one who's addressing these issues. You know, it's very easy to say, oh, I'm new. Let's forget about what happened yesterday.
Well, in fact, I'd just like to stop you for a second. We're going to go to Christian, and we're going to move on to the next topic, which is the past. Okay, so we're going to talk about that as well.
Okay, so I've been hearing a lot, and I've been involved in this organization, maybe not as many of you, but I disagree with several of the exposures that have been going on from the audience. One, that we need a virtual center. I think that's going a step backward, and I think we can move forward from there. If you come to the center many days a week, I mean, it's just amazing what happens here at 7, at 8, at 10, at 9. There are so many groups using the center, which is great. It's really emotional to see it. Second, the board. I mean, I don't have any problem with any individual of the board. I actually like every member of the board. The only thing, I've never seen such a small board in the story of my non-profit involvement. So it's a very small board. And I think, like, if we wait until an election, like she was mentioning, and I think it's great, and I think democracy is great, the center may not exist until then. There is no support from the community. There are no donations that fundraisers are bringing $200 or $300, so the center will close. And we cannot expect an anonymous donor to come every day or every month with money. So I think we should exit today, the day should end today by having, instead of 5 people in the board, having 13 people in the board. We have 8 community leaders wanting to step into a board. We can elect them right now, you can vote them right now, and have 16 people, and your next board meeting, you have 13 or 14 people to make decisions and really have the involvement of the community. And I think the change can be made now, can be made today, but I think like going backwards is not the case, but we need to look at the future.
Are we going to get an opportunity to present the bylaw question? Because that was one of the questions I thought that somebody asked. And the second about the positions. Because we haven't had a chance to present that. Forget all, I understand what I'm saying. Are we going to be able to, the question asked earlier, it was about us. Then everybody keeps talking about the board itself. So we haven't answered the question of, have we found an answer? Yes, we have. Can we present what we found? And it hasn't been able to be done.
We can get back to that. Let's get through all of our questions so we can get back to that, and I'll have the community follow up with questions.
That was one of their questions. So you want to wait? That's fine.
I would like to wait. Okay. Janice, we're going to go on to the next topic.
Well, I was going to ask further questions. You made a comment. I didn't get a chance to ask a question.
We'll get back to you, okay?
Okay.
We'll back. We'll make sure everybody gets an opportunity to speak.
Okay, there's a question from the community. Simply put, how does something like this happen? Where were the systems in place to keep the processes in check?
Okay, what's up with the financial?
We're now talking about the financial situation in the article that was published in the notes. And there's some additional questions that we could probably throw in there to answer. When did you know that the payroll... Yes.
There was a general question amongst the community that asked, can we elaborate what is the financial situation? There are individuals in the room that do not know.
Absolutely. Go ahead and share the financial situation.
Yeah. This line-green paper is our, I guess you could say, financial report. If you want to take one and check it out, look at it. As far as the article that was passed around, well, that was in Q notes. As far as the article that was in Q notes, since I have been president and we were notified about the payroll debt, I have contacted the IRS, and tax person working with me now, for which I do have the documentation that we do have to fill out to get that situated. And I'll go ahead and read his letter. To the LGBT Center of Charlotte and the LGBT community, Chris McNeil, CEO, F&M Rapid Taxes. To whom it may concern, my name is Chris McNeil. I've been taking on the task to rectify the tax situation at the LGBT Center of Charlotte. I will be working closely with Renzino Frazier and other board members to make sure this process is precise and handled in a timely manner. At this moment, no one is facing any criminal or civil actions being pursued against them, as this was just a simple minor oversight of bookkeeping process. Once the IRS and the state of North Carolina receive the necessary forms, you will be given the opportunity to set up payment agreements and arrangements if any balance is due. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions to the contact information below. That is signed by himself, Chris McNeil. So about the article that is in, you know, I'm sorry.
CFCPA.
Yes. Yes, I did contact the correct people to make sure we did rectify the situation. The article that was presented, it was stated in Q notes that we owe over or less, I'm not sure exactly, $7,000 in payroll taxes. When actually the situation that was happening when Roberta was chair, it was told to her that it was automatically being deducted from his payroll. We were under the assumption that it was automatically coming out. Yes, in our financial report, we approved it. We said yes, and that's just us thinking it was automatically done. And I'm not going to say that's not our fault. We should pay more attention to it, and we are going to accept the responsibility as a board. We did vote yes on the physical and financial reports. As far as taking moving steps forward, Glenn has been paid his full amount for working here at the center. So that is over and done with. The next step is making sure that we have the tax situation handled. I have all of the forms. All Glenn has to do is fill them out so we can send them in to get this rectified. Whatever amounts are owed, we will be setting up payment plans to take care of that. At this time, you all have the financial report in which we do have pretty much everything that is laid out for you. The way that we plan on paying off what we owe for June or getting ahead, we do have 2 fundraisers coming up, which is the Queen's Tea, and also we have the Stonewall event coming up. The major fundraiser, the major fundraiser that we do have is a sticker program. We're asking that every major business in Charlotte that is LGBT friendly purchase this sticker. This is a renewable sticker, and it is just $100 a year.
So any follow-up questions on the back payroll or payroll taxes? Yes.
I have, this is just, I guess, was created on Microsoft Word, but I have a balance sheet that shows, and it says the total amount owed for the center is $6,682.37. But according to a balance sheet that I received, which is from QuickBooks, not Microsoft Word, it says $7,765.20 are withholding and taxes payable that are liabilities right now. Also in the interviews that I conducted over the past couple of days, which is what my article was based off of in addition to this, and it was stated to me that withholding taxes had not been paid since Rob Marcy left the board, and that would have been in May. I went back and did some calculations on that and came up with about $7,000 or so just based on my own calculations, which matches what this document says. So what explains the discrepancy? Has there been something paid in the interim over the past couple of days? And if so, I mean, we're talking about probably $3,000 or $4,000 discrepancy in the tax issue alone. Where did that $3,000 or $4,000 come from in addition to the money that was used to pay for Glenn's salary? Was that also a second anonymous donor or the same anonymous donor that paid that? I guess, why is there a discrepancy between the financial documents I received on Friday and the document you're now presenting us 2 days later?
When Rob stepped down, sorry, I'm the operations director at Blender. So when Rob stepped down, there was no treasurer in place. And so they had asked me to start kind of entering and exiting from QuickBooks. I'm not a treasurer, so I mean, there could be things that are, it should be right. I mean, I pretty much keep an honest book. But I did make this up yesterday, so probably that is probably more accurate. I was told yesterday morning that this was. So that actually, what you have is probably more accurate. So, I mean, like they said, the honest owner did come in and pay my wages.
Okay. So. Just as a follow-up question to the chair and the board, is there a plan in place right now, and have you begun to identify a qualified CPA or some other financial services professional who can come in and get a handle on this? And when do you expect that? Who is that person? And when do you expect that person to be a board member?
One of those persons, I have emailed someone and communicated with, well, let's say 2 other people, in which they asked me not to present their names so they made their final decision on coming and helping us with that. But at that time, when they agreed, in which I believe that both of them probably will come on and assist us with this, they will present themselves to you and any questions that you may have about the LGBT center bodies.
One final follow-up and then I'll end. Can you give an approximate date? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, 30 days of when you can have a solid financial report of what actually is owed by the center?
Actually, once we get these forms in and we get everything with the IRS settled, that is when we'll be able to give the final answer.
Okay, thank you.
Just a point of clarification to when Glenn answered Matt, you said one of these two was more accurate. Which one?
The quicker ones. That's the one that's coming up, things coming in and out. When I put this in, I was kind of going by QuickBooks and kind of trying to put it in, but I could have miscalculated, I'm sorry. But this pretty much was going by my paychecks and all. I did this.
Like I said, I asked Glenn for a lot of information at the last minute due to this meeting invitation being last minute. So.
I have one question from the audience that was just handed, and then we'll go to you. Did the board members know that fund was not being paid? And if they did, well, I guess that's it. Did they know? Did y'all know?
How was it actually? The question was, how was it that you did not know? I think it was noted in the article that not all of the board members knew that was not here.
Glenn hadn't paid up to date everything that was owed. We were having financial difficulties rolling in and out, and he was paid up all the time. At one point, we were short, and I asked him if he could hold off for a week or two and hold it back, cashing his check, and he volunteered to do that. He was paid then, and then he was paid up again before he went on vacation, and then we owed him a check when he got back, and then one for this pay period that just ended. And he has been paid in full. Again, yesterday we had funds come in. It's difficult when you don't get your funds at the beginning of every month. Something like we would all like to get paid on the first of the month. Sometimes you get paid on the 10th and 12th, and donations come in accordingly. So he worked with us on that, and it's difficult without having, the membership being the community members, and we ask you all to become donating members and financial supporters of the community and being good standing with us to help us have a more even cash flow basis. It's very, very important to do that. Okay? I'll tell you this.
We just asked that question.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
When you ask the question again, I don't think that she answered the question.
Absolutely. How is it possible that the board members did not know that Glenn wasn't being paid?
We know that he's been paid. You've established that. They want to know, how is it that you guys didn't know he wasn't paid? That's what they want to know.
I'm going to be, like I said, I'm 100% real. I did not know of it because I was assuming he was getting paid. He sent out an email, I want to say it was last week, letting all of us know the current situation. From what I know, him and Roberta had a conversation about him getting paid and getting his wages paid, a week or two later or whatever. So I was not aware of their conversation. None of us that I know of were there with Roberta and Glenn. So those were the only two that know what they worked out at that time. We were under the assumption that he was getting paid.
So just to clarify, you didn't know that he wasn't getting paid until he told you he wasn't getting paid.
Which was in an email that he sent.
Just how long ago?
I think just a follow-up to this, it's the same question. Do y'all not get financial reports that say money comes in, this is going out, this is rent, this is payroll, and should there should have been a discrepancy saying payroll wasn't being paid? That's what I think we're confused about.
Was there any time during your meetings that you reviewed financial reports and should have known in the past that Glenn was not getting paid?
That's what
those reports that, like I said,
financial reports were given by Glenn. So when Glenn presented it, we looked it over and approved the report.
So Glenn presented misleading financial reports?
No. He presented what was paid and what wasn't paid. That's it.
When we had no funds, I spoke with Roberta, and the thing is that, I'm sorry, and maybe this is egocentric, if I wasn't here, the center wouldn't be open. So I decided to stay on, not having my money. When I returned year by on the trip, the decision was, we got a donation, the decision was to pay for the building. And it wasn't looking as if I was going to be paid at that moment. And it hurt me because I figured we were going to the building and not with an employee. And I did let the board know. If the board didn't know, I sometimes feel it was ostrich. They didn't want to know because it wasn't out there. I had told Roberta, and if she didn't tell the board, then that was the problem. Because honestly, they mostly didn't know. I think that the idea was and honestly, and once again, we're all being honest, I was told that one of the board members said, I should just leave then if I'm not getting paid. And that also hurt me. And that, I mean, I'm sorry, for someone who I feel has dedicated a lot to this building, putting out fires, that's not the way to say.
It feels like we need to stay with this for another minute. Josie, was your question, what's this topic?
It's a little bit more micro, so we can wait. Let's stay general. I mean, it's not like...
Can we just take a moment? But I just want to take a moment. Thank you. On behalf
All right, so any follow-up questions related to payroll and Glenn? Yes.
I believe it was stated in the keynote article that you had to take some of your personal funds and purchase supplies.
That's here or there. I mean, the thing is that honestly, we didn't have a lot of funds to go. So if I'm buying paper or vote for prison or anything like that, that's...
So you're fine with that? You don't want to...
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I mean, I feel that we all have to do our part as well. You know what I mean? And being an employee, I mean, it doesn't matter.
I'm going to go back to you now.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a good opportunity because that's sort of what that question is about. My name's Josie. It's really good to meet you guys. I'm one of the coordinators for one of your programs that runs out of the center called PRISM. We were under the impression that PRISM received a grant from the Lesbian and Gay Fund, and this kind of goes back to Glenn paying for some of our expenses. We were concerned about how do we account for that fund money. Did it go into a general account? Was it misappropriated? Was it not earmarked properly?
I believe all the funds that came in from the fund for that program were spent on that program to fly the present people down to Texas and pay for their hotels and all that other stuff.
It was put into a Group 1 account, which I don't know if I totally agree. I think that they should be fairly different accounts for each program, but that's neither here nor there. There was, of course, operational money to go to creating change and money to for snacks, drinks, etc. for that program. I mean, in the long run, yes, it has all gone to you. It has, yes. I mean, it was a little difficult at times, worrying if you were going to go to create change because we had spent a lot of that money. Yes, and that was why I was very concerned.
And I want to make sure everybody
on paying bills. Because it wasn't me.
I'm currently chairman of the board of Playwork Support Cooperative Grant Park of the Regional Nonprofit in the United States.
Could you speak up, please?
Yes, I will. We have a finance committee meeting once a month. And we have a treasurer who is a banker who has a CPA and an MBA who reports to the full finance committee. And a full financial report is provided to all board members. What I don't understand is what the structure is for managing the organization. And when I say that, the board has a fiduciary responsibility for the good management of the organization. But in most organizations, the board does not run the organization. The fundamental failure, and I want to underscore what Shane has been saying, the fundamental failure is that you have, in Glenn Griffin, the talent to be the executive director of an organization and have a board who he says, you need to make sure this event occurs. You need to be sure this happens and so on. This organization is upside down, financially and organizationally. And that's the fundamental problem. Until you establish the leadership position in Playworks, our executive director tells us, and working with the finance committee, there's a problem where cash flow is here, it's our cash flow projection, we have these reserves, this is what we're going to do, we know this is a timing issue, we're going to deal with it. But every board member is aware of it. And if you aren't, then you're not meeting a fiduciary responsibility to both the Internal Revenue Service, to your nonprofit status, to the state of North Carolina,
that, and it can be solved by an effective board that gives authority to an effective executive director, which you have failed to appoint. And he's sitting right there.
Next, Senator.
Thank you. My name is Sue. I don't live here either, but I used to have an interest in Charlotte. I'm curious, and maybe this is already public knowledge, I apologize if it's already out there and I'm just behind times. How is the center funded? Is it like 50% donations, 30% grants? What is the funding structure that's in place now? Please.
Can I say that out loud?
I asked them so, right?
Currently, right now, we are being funded by having our own fundraisers. And like I said, I've created a major fundraiser movement, which is the sticker. I didn't create it, but that is the major initiative going out for that. If you think about it, well, not every business, most businesses. The sticker program is a sticker that we have that has been created for the center to sell to businesses locally in the area. With that sticker, it is renewable every year at $100, letting you know that it is a LGBT-friendly organization.
Okay, but as follow-up, I'm sorry if I misunderstood. You came here in February, you started on the board then? Is that right?
Yes.
But there's other people who have some history. There was no funding structure that y'all could speak of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to speak of what?
Prior to this young man.
No one.
If someone else on the board,
Okay. Going back into the past, the center usually has been funding from a major event that went on in Charlotte, and we could make $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 a year from that. That program decided to go in another direction. And after that program, we had to start a new process. It was a cutoff. It was just, boom, it's over. And so we started a new process. We started holding events and things like that, looking for a new annual renewable energy program that we could just, have. And we tried several things. And we reached out to the community. We advertised people come in and do things, get involved. And we haven't been able to raise enough money from that. We had a board meeting 2 months ago. One of the people that spoke at the meeting came up and says, talk about raising funds, having, something that would be different than other people and something that would raise money every year on a new basis. And the board, after the meeting, the board went upstairs and held another meeting to talk about what new programs can we institute. I didn't talk about her, sorry. This is a very important question. And it was, how do we, what do we come up with? Two people that were down here talking, came up and said, hey, we have an idea. And if you look over at the picture, if someone could bring me that picture of the sticker on it, it's like a flag your head, Christian. Right there, that one there. Christian, if you can bring
Christian,
that
grab that. Can you bring it up here?
No, not this picture right there.
So the sticker.
Bring that up. What it is we're going out and we're asking LGBT and LGBT supporting, and non-LGBT, I own a bank, I own a grocery store, whatever, that we support on a daily basis to purchase a sticker. There's one in the window right beside you. And for a $100 donation, which after taxes in your business is like $68, it says something really basic. This establishment proudly supports the LGBT community. Charlotte, North Carolina, 2014. A show of diversity, hands, and a heart, and it has a small center symbol. So we're not trying to think. It says support the LGBT community, not community center. Us, to let everyone who walks into that business know this is a business that supports us. And
I just want to ask a follow-up question, just for clarification for everybody.
So that's our major fundraising program that we're looking at that will be ongoing.
So the sticker is
one quick answer to the general thing. If I sell 100 of these, if I get 100 people, that's $10,000. If we get 1,000 people, that's $100,000 that can be brought in and support the center. It's something no one is doing. HRC has their little program with their equal sign on it, but if someone drives by, they don't know what that is.
So Roberta, okay, I just want to ask the board really quickly, we're getting a lot of questions. I'm sure there are a lot more around. So just quickly, yes or no. The center is funded through stickers.
Right now, it is in the best that we hold.
Currently, that's one plan. What about grant funding?
And grants.
What percentage?
Probably 10%. I mean, I think it varies every year. I would say, on average, it's 10% of the budget.
10%. And what about donors?
Very small percentage, but we're building that up now with our membership program. We announced the membership program 3 months ago with 3 different levels, and also asking for corporate sponsorships. And that's slowly building up.
Okay, thank you. And then there's a quick follow-up question on the sticker program. It was reported that, or there's been a rumor that the sticker program was created to pay off debt, and then the center would close. Is that true?
No, that is not true. There was a communication between, there was a conversation between Gil and I asked Gil to give me a couple days when we could go out and sell the stickers. We did a sample program.
No, me. No, Glenn.
No,
yeah.
Glenn, I'm sorry. And sorry about that. And we did a test program to see what questions and answers people wanted on this year, and then we refined the program with further questions and things to answer when you're out talking about that. And I said to Glenn, I said, give me 2 days, let's see if we can raise $20,000, which will keep us going through this year. And if that doesn't work, and we know this program isn't working, then we'll have some funding to get us through, and if we have to close, we'll close. That was what the intent of it was, and that letter that came out didn't include that in it.
Right, and that was miscommunication.
And we are getting close to our time, but just to make sure everybody gets an opportunity, let's all be mindful of our questions and the length of them and our responses. And try to be as direct as possible. You know I'm a lawyer.
We're cutting it down to a minute.
Just instead of a minute and a half. You've had a question for quite a while, and then Chad, and then I'll go around in the order that I saw.
My name is Ryan, and I just had more of a comment than anything. My background is to do credit counseling for individuals. One of the things that I have to do in my job at the height of bankruptcy, because of people gone into personal bankruptcies, is to talk to people about their financial situations. And one of the things that people would say to me right off the bat when I would talk to them is, I don't want to lose my home. Understandable, nobody does. But when we go over their budget and look at their finances, I have no other choice to say, I'm sorry, you cannot afford where you're at. All I have to say to the board is, you bought a house, you cannot afford it. I'm sorry. Either scale back or close your doors. There's no other solution here that I can see. Because going out and trying to raise money in a community that's not safe for you isn't going to work. And I always hated to tell people, I don't think you have any other choice. Nobody wants to tell somebody to leave their home. But
thank you. Chad, and then
I'm going to piggyback off of what Will said earlier, and I don't think was fully answered. I'm going to piggyback off of Will. He said something earlier that wasn't completely answered because he has also worked with nonprofits like me, and we sat in front of balance sheets with multi-million-dollar worth of budget. Is, from my understanding, when taxes were taken out of the check.
Yes.
So therefore, if the checks weren't being cut to the state and federal government, there should have been surplus in the account, and the outs do not actually in. Therefore, the balance sheet does not balance. And that's when the questions should arise in board meetings, because I know when you're in the business field, if the numbers don't meet, we have to have a discussion because the money's sitting there. So the tax money, I'm looking at this and says withholding a tax payable, and if that's coming up every month, then that money, those monies are sitting there because they didn't go out because apparently you're having to pay back taxes. So if you have this extra money sitting in the bank, was this money used for operations? And if it was, that's not legal.
And a quick follow-up question that was handed to us. How much money does this center currently have?
$650.
Here. Can I still have a question here? Back out. Yes, do you have a question?
Well, just one question. Has the establishment of paid membership dues on a sliding scale ever been seriously considered? That seems to be such a sensible way to go about raising funds. Has that ever been discussed? Setting up paid membership dues, let's say on a monthly basis, on a sliding scale.
It's in effect. But
it is. I haven't been notified. I'm ready to.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm ready to engage.
It's okay. We got you.
Okay.
Here.
My name is Will Reed. Okay, so this.
Tell me we want to see it.
So my question is, this is the third meeting I've attended where we've come, we've talked, we've left, and I'm back. The problem is that for me, as a person who studied nonprofit administration, is structure, the way the money comes in, where it goes, what is set up for what. Like he said, if you have places that you're supposed to pay and you're not paying, then where's that money? Who handles the money? Why does that person handle the money? The membership thing is not a problem, but it's like, why are we paying if we're just coming to have free town halls and nobody's taking what I'm saying, so I'm still not cutting a check. I love you people as people, I love you all, but I'm having an issue trying to reconcile what exactly I'm here for. Because that was my question I wrote down when I got here and I just didn't turn it in. Like, why are we here today? And what exactly are we going to do with what we're saying? Because I've been with you all twice, and I've yet to see any results or actions based on those first 2 weeks.
Okay, so I'm going to be very transparent. I've been on board a year, and just had a meeting in April where Glenn was part of. We sat up there on that couch, and I was told how much we were behind. And we raised that money that day. Okay? No taxes were talked about. So I apologize.
No.
I didn't know about it. I'm going to stand here embarrassed. Because I sit on a board that I'm extremely proud of. And today I've heard a lot that I'm embarrassed over. And I'm sorry, board. I still stand here today saying to you, I want to be a part of this board and I'm going to work very hard for it. And I stand behind this man who stood up when nobody else in this community would. Please don't. Because I'm upset. For a year, I have worked very hard with this community. I stand proud in my community. I'm going to continue to work hard. I believe in Renzino's. I believe in him because I've seen his passion. We have turned over an entire board. And I have built teams, and it's taken over a year to do it. This is a brand new team, and I'm asking you. I've been part of the decision to change the bylaws so we can open up membership and bring more members on because I feel like we can't do it. I'm tired. There's been 7 of us. That's it. Every meeting that we come to, we do the same thing. We talk about it. We meet 2 or 3 times. We come up with all this passion and vision, and then the community knocks us down again. Now, I'm not saying you're not wrong, because you are right in a lot of the things. And I've been part of some great organizations, and conversations have come out of that
because I hope that we can get past that. And I think we need to acknowledge the conversations that have happened, and that we do correct that as a board, and we move on from here. So that's all I have to say, and I'm sorry, and I appreciate you asking the things that you did. I will tell you, I don't know how much I raised last year. I know I worked my butt off. I know I came to as many events, and I tried my hardest. That's all I can say for that. So thank you.
My name is Jenny Geisbar. I'm the chair of the Charlotte Lesbian Gay Fund. And we are probably one of your biggest donors. And we represent a group of a giving circle of donors who give $1,000 and above and vote on grants every year. And I've been a part of this fund for 6 years, and we have been giving you grants every year. And these aren't we giving you, our stakeholders, people in our community giving you this money. I work just as hard as you. I got a 20-person board that I have built with many people. But you have to get the skill set to run a board. You need a professional fundraiser or somebody who can guide you. An event is not fundraising. Donors, cultivating relationships with people. We have never received a thank you from you at all, your organization. And that's a shame on you. I am a professional fundraiser. I do this for a living. I've done it for 15 years. So it kills me that year after year after year, I have to put my bias aside because I give money too, and it goes to you.
Jenny, can I say something?
Yeah.
I work for Judge G, by the way.
I know you do.
Member of our board. I wrote you at least 3 emails to offer to have a fundraiser, not for us, but for you here. You know
why would you have it for us when you're not making any money for yourself?
Because it's good for the community. That's why, Jenny. That's because that's part of the community center's mission is what's good for the community. But what's bad is when you never even took the time to wrote back and say no.
Alright, so that's I don't know if you realize, but we have sat down with your board chair and Glenn for the last 2 months working on how we can be supportive. But you know what? We're not going to just, our stakeholders cannot give money to an empty hole anymore. And we are here to help in any way. If you change boards, if you figure out what you're going to do, we will help get you out of it. We want help. You need a plan. You need leadership. And I applaud you. I agree. You're going to be great. But you need a plan. And that is just not having an event. You need a really great board. You need a strategic plan. And you need to bring outside help in here. And these are professionals, not someone from our community, but true professionals who are doing this day in and day out that can help you create a plan.
So we're hearing a lot of a plan. Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I want to reply to the fact that they want participation and they want to be a part of it and they need to apply for positions to do that. Nobody has applied for the position. We've needed a treasurer. But how long have we needed a treasurer? And it was on the websites. It was noted. Not one of you came up and said, hey, I can do this. It matters to y'all in the community. We can't do it all. But y'all can complain, but none of y'all apply.
So it's our fault?
No, I'm not saying that. All you have to do, I'm not arguing with you. The bottom line is it's about coming and stepping up. It's about stepping up. You want to argue, it's been 3 town halls. Yes, he's right. But how many of you actually stepped up and said, I have 2 applications? 2 applications. And those are being, we haven't sat on it. We need, no. See, that's why y'all don't pay attention. We have to take care of it. We have to take care of it.
It's over. This is a charade.
No, I talked to Matt. I told Matt, give us time. I said to Matt.
I sat here with my mouth closed the whole time.
It takes time to do things, and y'all know that.
Crystal, your time's up.
Okay.
I have talked to community members over and over and over about this. This is not my, can I know you do.
Everybody take a deep breath right now. Cleansing breath. Deep cleansing breath.
So I saw, Josh, I saw your hand. I think this is very important. We need to stay with it for a minute. So regarding this, Josh, and then I'll try to go in the best order I can here.
Josh
Burford, community member. So with all due respect to the board, we have been to a lot of town halls. There are several of us who have gotten together. We're concerned about what we do for community organizing. If that's a space, if it's a shared space, what does that space look like? We would like to try to get answers to those questions. And so over the next couple of weeks, that's what we're going to do. We're going to pull the community together, and we're going to find out what we can do to have a space. And maybe that involves a center. We don't know. But we are going to be having conversations with the community about what it looks like from this point forward so that we can get organized. So we just want to let everybody know that.
Can we join those
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's open.
That's fine. I mean, it's not being fine.
You and then Matt.
Well, I do want to say thank you. The passion that you guys have towards the center is what is bringing us all here right now. And this is changing subjects a little bit because the emotions are high in the room right now. A key fundamental flaw that I've noticed throughout this meeting is that there seems to be a breakdown of communication between not only the board, but the board to the community, and also the community to the board in terms of what kind of events we want, what kind of events we'll participate in, and I'm wondering how the board plans on figuring out where that lack of communication is. And I would like to, I don't have any background in nonprofits, and I don't have much, but I have a degree in communications with a concentration in public advocacy. And if there's anything that I can do, trying to, maybe reach a younger community or something, I'm just wondering how we can move forward, because all of these conversations about what's happening, I want to.
Our plan is to do a needs assessment to find out what we need to do. One thing I know that I have spoken with Glenn and the board about is getting with the community leaders, and I actually am going to send out an invitation tomorrow to meet with them sometime this week. To meet with them this week so that we can address the needs of the community and what you all want to see happen.
I'm sorry. I'm just wondering how you engage the needs of the community. What method will you use to get a feel for what the community needs? Surveys, is it direct?
It's going to be a list of things that we're going to do. We have surveys, phone banking. We can call the people in the database and ask them, okay, what do you want to see the center do? What do you want to have? What events do you want to have? Also, attending other events that are in the community to find out the response that we get from them. I know I try to make it to as many as I can, participate as many as I can, just so I can be in the community and I can communicate with the people in the community and see what the needs are.
Matt, Janice, Jim, in that order.
I've spent the past few months talking to just about every single person in this room, at some point or another, on record or off record, about this situation. And the one thing I've learned from every person I've spoken to in the community who is not currently on the board, well, maybe not every person, overwhelming majority, is that nobody wants to serve with the board, the current board. People do want to step up, but are not willing to step up with the current board in place. And a good example of that is, apologies, Crystal, is the way you just addressed these two people right here, with your finger out saying, but you don't listen. It's that kind of attitude that no one here wants to serve with the board. And the problem with all of this is that this is a wealthy city. This is the largest LGBT community in the Carolinas, probably the second or third largest in the South, and there's absolutely no reason why we don't have a qualified board here. If the center board leaders truly value the center as much as they do, they would have recognized, perhaps, that it was their own leadership that was standing in the way of moving this organization forward. I asked Ranzino this on the record yesterday. What justification can the center board have for keeping your former chair on the board when she oversaw these tremendous failures? Literally, that's not an opinion, that's a fact by now. Absolute failure. Why is she still on the board? And I didn't get an answer. You defended your former chair, and I asked you follow-up questions that we asked today. Well, don't you look at financial documents when you're in the meeting? Don't you look at your banking statement? And eventually your final answer to that was, well, I assumed our former chair had it under control. It's obvious she didn't. Why is she still on the board?
From the community, what I heard, and I'm going to be transparent and 100, you asked her to step down as chair, correct?
No, factually, members of the community asked the entire board to resign completely.
You can do a poll if you like.
I know for me, we need to have as many people on the board as possible. I'm being completely honest. I'm not going to sit here and say Roberta has made the best decision for the board or for the community, but I know she has a heart, she has a passion for the community and for certain organizations in the LGBT community. So for me to ask a person that has a care for it, I don't want you to be a part of my board, to me that doesn't work for me. I feel like everyone is put here for a reason. We do have 7 slots available. If because one person on that board bothers you that much, that you can't come and be a part of something that is going to become positive and past what is going on at this current time, that is something you have to take it from yourself. Not trying to be disrespectful or trying to take it personal, but this community is bigger than one person. This community is bigger than one person.
But Mr. Fraser, with all due respect, I have no personal dog in this.
Well, no, I'm not saying
I'm
just saying
Colleen and I just had this conversation like Tuesday. We just met like 20 seconds ago. We just had this conversation. You're asking us, after everything that you've done, to trust you, and we're telling you that we can't. So that is a very simple answer. This is not, I don't have any personal vendettas against anyone. I don't know y'all like that. What I'm saying to you is, on Friday at 6 o'clock, a group of people in the community said, would you come and help us fix a problem? And I said yes. That's what I'm suggesting. And that is what many people in the community want. If what we're telling you is we can't, and I'm telling you that I can't, not because I'm pissed off or got a dog or whatever, I'm telling you that I can't, then your answer doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. We can't trust you.
I just want to not get into the dialogue like that, just to make sure it's heard, but quick response?
Yes, I understand that you can't trust the board. I understand there have been bridges that has been burned. I am active president. I want to, as a board, we have had a conversation. We are accountable for the mistakes that we have made in the past. There has been things that have been said, there have been events that were not attended, but as of now, since I have been there, I'm going to make those changes. I am coming to the community and telling you, we have open positions on the board. There is a need for organization leads, chairs of other organizations that you can come and be a part of us. You have better ideas, we're open to those ideas. We have no issue as a board getting the help. You asked for us to be transparent. Here we are. We need your help. We need people that have the knowledge and the degrees and the back to help us. We don't want you to come against us with all of this other stuff that is going on and being said. We need your help with us. I know.
Janice, Janice is next, then Jim, and then we'll get
to make mine real short.
Especially if you haven't been there, please let me know. Okay.
I want to make mine pretty short and understandable. I've been involved in nonprofits off and on for the last 45 years. I've been president of nonprofits. I've been with the Lions Club. I've been with the community in Barrett County. All sorts of different nonprofits. And one of the questions that I have is for personal.
No personal attack.
Oh, no, this is not a personal attack. I have a question for Bert. You made a statement earlier that they're volunteers. They're not paid. Now, I agree. But you know what the difference is between a volunteer and a paid professional. A volunteer does it because they want to. A paid professional does it because it's a job. Thank you.
And we've done this because we love it, and we've done the best That's all I can say about that.
First of all, I want to apologize to people on this far road quickly, not to speak independently. Yes. Anyway, so I apologize.
I apologize because I started. It's my fault.
However, when Rangino said that he's going to get a group of leaders from the community to help, they said they were going to do that before. I sat in a room right up there for 3.5 hours over 2 months ago as one of the clergical leaders of the community to work on the bylaws. They did their own bylaw changes just this last week without consulting that group whatsoever. They took none of our suggestions. They didn't even come back and say thank you. They never scheduled a second meeting. They did absolutely nothing. It was a facade to this community saying they were going to reach out for help. They reached out. They did absolutely nothing with it. Why should we trust them to do that again? That pissed me off.
I'm just going to finish the video because objectively right now is absolutely there will be no water.
Set up there, and there was 2 recommendations. This was the time.
Operator error.
And the big concern then was whether the center would have elections for the board of trustees. Because before that, since I've been on here, it was always the board asked people to join and then the board would vote the people on that. And we had the discussion, and one of the things that was mentioned upstairs, I didn't want to do this because since you brought it up, was that the center should not have the community vote for board members. Well, no, guess what it was is that we should come up with 2 positions, which could be 1-year positions, and to have the community vote on them. And that's what was recommended. And we talked about it.
This one's real.
You want me to finish, or you need
Just quickly, just to wrap up.
Okay. We discussed it, we voted on it, and we felt that that was not a good recommendation. What you truly wanted was to nominate and elect board members. 2 months ago, it was added that we would have a nomination, we would have an election for board members at our annual meeting, and what we ended up doing is clarifying it, that we would have nominations in June and elections by membership and the board for the board members, so that anyone who's in good standing as a member can vote and nominate and vote for board members.
Okay,
That's
so
what you wanted, and that's not what that was.
I'm just going to go here first since he hasn't been heard yet. And then we are a little bit over our time, but if people want to stay for some more minutes and finish the conversation, be thinking about maybe any last thoughts or recommendations to the board that we James, okay?
Hi, I'm James. I have no qualifications for nonprofit. I'm just a brand new face to the Charlotte participation scene, to everything. So I'm really coming out of this as an outsider and a brand new person. So I don't have any dollars or anything. As just a random community person who is just having to kind of hear all this from both sides, about the past, about what we want to do for the future. I personally can't get past today, and with you saying, if I heard correctly, that we currently, at this exact second, have $617 today right now, which means there is no future, and forget about the past if we right now have $650. So just for me, just to make me sleep better at night as we members, because I want to see a center where people can come and participate in all this other stuff, and how y'all do it, that ain't my dog fight. I just want to know, there is no tomorrow, there is no board, and there is no center if you have $650. So how are we operating tomorrow? What board is there tomorrow if we have $650? Today's June 1st. Has rent been paid for June 1st? Has June 1st rent been paid? We have electric and lights. Nothing has been paid for this. So we still owe for last month, and we have not paid for June, and we are in a new month. So my question again is, with this current board, whether you're a president or not, and I don't know you, so you do, it seems like you do have good intentions, but sweetie, there is no future if you got $650 right now. So what are we going to operate with $650?
At the
Ed Rosino, we have kind of put together, the rent that is owed for May, there is $200 that is still owed from what happened in February. We kind of got February for free and are paying it slowly throughout the year. And so May, yes, has been paid for what is supposed to be paid, but we still do owe that extra $200. So
I just want to understand. You
yes.
owe $200 for May.
Yes.
May, and we have not even addressed June.
No,
so how are you functioning on June 2nd?
Here in the back.
It's 3,000. The rent is 3,600. 3,800.
I mean, I'm sorry, but my question is, how are we operating tomorrow?
And that was my question as well, so we can just combo those up. That was exactly my question. What happens from now?
I would really like to answer. How are we operating tomorrow? If we want to future the board, this, that, and the third, I understand you're passionate, but how are we operating tomorrow?
So is there a plan? What's the plan? Okay, so Randino talked about a couple of things that we talked about. Fundraisers, those are the 2 events for June. As we said before, and great point, someone had talked about business plan. We've met 2 or 3 different times on separate occasions to come up with a business plan over the last year that we've talked about. We've changed our vision of how we were going to do this. First it was membership drives, and then we were going to have a big membership drive here, and we were actually going to ask drag queens to come in, and it's going to be really cool. We had lots of ideas. But again, a board of 6, 7, 8, and I told you there was a turnover board. I'm not making any excuses at all. What I'm saying is that's what happened. We would come up with a great plan. You're going to do this, and then something would happen, and it wouldn't happen. So for June, just to talk about June, we have 2 fundraising events, and then we have the sticker program. We all on the board have committed to raising $500 each for the month of June. That will happen. I believe in this board. I believe that's going to happen.
Does that mean we're going to be late for June? Because Brent is doing it first. No.
Let me ask the community a question. How many of you come here for events? How many of you have events? How many of you pay to have events? Exactly. The hands that go down. This is what is happening. For every LGBT organization, you can have an event here once a month. All we ask is that you pay $100 for the year. How many people with organizations that has had an event here paid your $100 for this year?
So now you're making this a
No, that's not a monetary situation. I'm being completely honest. You all are asking questions. I'm being transparent. We ask that every organization here pay $100 for the year. That is to have one event every month. You can rent out any room for a meeting or anything you want to have. $100 for the year.
So part of the plan, if I understand it, that you're in the community, is that every organization in the community
yes, that was already in place.
Should pay $100 a year. So I've seen there's some hands that have been up for a while, Josie, and then here in the back also. Did you still have a question?
What I'm saying is that I'm not blaming you all, but I'm asking for you all to step up to the plate and help with the cause and stop being against us.
All right, Josie, and then in the back, very back.
So I want to say, and I am speaking kind of for PRISM, which has been at this LGBT center for like 2 years by choice. We've had other groups try and come and like recruit us there. And keeping in mind that now we have 2 of our coordinators out of 4 trying to break away from this LGBT center. Like we have been here by choice. Y'all are acting like, oh, y'all don't come to help us. Like the community isn't helping us. But we are here, and I want you to know who's planning your Stonewall event. That's me and Mel. Okay? We sit here, we come here every week, and I've not met any of you except Glenn. You know, and I just think it's really absurd to me that y'all would say, I mean, yeah, not a lot of people, but y'all aren't even interacting with the community that you got here. You know, I have a project going on right now where I'm like personally categorizing our library up there so that I have like a protocol for how people can check out books and how people can donate books. And like y'all and one more thing. One more thing. Me and Mel have gone out of our way to make connections with a volunteer from ARP with LGBT connections. And, you know, that's something that I got from my school. Like, from UNCC, we met a woman who wants to work with the LGBT community. She's been having meetings, and me and Mel have been going, and she doesn't even want to work with the LGBT center anymore because she's not getting any board representatives to go to that meeting. And I just feel like we're trying and we're being hindered.
What I'm going to ask, like I said, is that with me being the president, is that you contact me. Let me know the dates of the events, the times, the place, where I need to be, where I need to go, who I need to speak with. I just asked Lane last night, and I just spoke with him. I asked him, who is doing the Stonewall event? He said him and Bert working on it. I had no idea that you two were speaking with them as well.
We've been, Mel and Josie and I have talked about it. Bert and I are still meeting together about it.
So that's something I did not know. I did not know that you all would help us. If I would have known that, I would be communicating with you all to make the next success.
We've been working on this. Yeah. So I want to hear from the person in the back here, and then quickly do a wrap up because it's past our time. You can go ahead with your question.
I just, what are the next steps for the board? And are you willing to accept additional board members that are qualified? Because it sounds like you're asking the community to do all the work, and the board is just going to take credit for it.
No.
What I'm getting very frustrated. I don't see where
we are open to people joining the board that have the qualified, credentials. I have no issue with it. I'm not at all blaming the community, but I want the community to stop badgering the board about stuff that they can help control as well. This is the LGBT Community Center. This is not the LGBT Board Center. This is for the community.
Okay, and we're going to take, so everybody that has their hands up right now, I just want to hear quickly from each of you, and just keep it really short, and then we're going to wrap up, and we'll get your responses after, okay? Yes, here. Yes.
Hi, my name is Addison Evans. I go to a lot of center events. I'm a commoner. I have some experience with nonprofit work, done a lot of organizing, whatever. I feel like that's all kind of irrelevant right now. My question is, it's not a question, it's a statement and a question in one, I guess. My statement is, I feel rather offended right now. Like, I feel like I've been attacked as a commoner community member because I'm not sitting out here shelling $1,000 to the center right now, or because I'm not donating. One, I was not aware that there were membership dues or that there were sliding scale membership thing going on. I was not aware that the board needed help. Like, you're saying that these things are going on, but I'm coming to the center every week or every 2 weeks or however often, at least once a month, I visit the center and come to an event. And to be completely transparent, I am friends with and acquaintances with a lot of people that serve in coordinator positions or whatever with the board. And for some reason, I was not aware of this. So for everyone to say that, oh, well, it was known, you knew, this, that, and the third, it sounds like the board is not really taking accountability. You're standing up there and you're shouting back at us and saying that, well, you're not doing your portion, you're pointing your fingers, you're doing this, you're doing that. But at the end of the day, I still haven't heard what she just said. I still haven't heard what our steps are moving forward. And I've been listening. I mean, you're talking about the same two events. But what, like Shane said, like this guy said, what's your 3-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? Now you have a quick rundown. Anything that will help me have faith in the board. Because you're telling me to have faith in you, but you owe back taxes. You've done illegal things with your money. Like, how can I have faith in an organization that has done illegal things with money and who should have had someone there to take care of that? I can go to mint.com and set up a budget right now. But you know that you're talking this my fault. No.
Bennett, Colleen, Frank.
Hi, Bennett. I'm one of the people that's up here asking for change.
Louder.
I'm one of the people that's up here asking for change. I'm a coordinator for prison. I founded prison's sibling group, Gender Days. I barely have food to eat right now because I have no money, but I donated $60 to become a member because I believed in it and I wanted it to work. I talked to my coworkers at the Humane Society and tried to get involved because I want this PR to benefit the center. But when I found out that all this was happening, I lost faith completely. I cannot trust the board to run the center. I talk about the events, I talk about the membership. I tried to raise money through the groups I had. I tried to raise money through the resources I had. But now I don't trust it. And it's
saying, not that we don't think you have ideas, but that we don't believe in you. And you believe in the community and center as much as you're saying. We need you to listen to us and step down.
Yeah, so it was sort of on those heels, and I was invited here today by Barbara and by Chad. And I'm reminded of a movie called A Few Good Men, where Jack Nicholson is yelling at Tom Cruise saying, "You can't handle the truth." And what I'm hearing here is there's a board of 7 people. And the truth is that there's a community out here that does not want to work with you. So I believe the truth is that if you really, in your heart of hearts, want to do what's good for the community, it is about what's the greatest good for the greatest number of people. You will hold your heads high. You will say, I gave my time. I did the best I could. I'm going to step away, and I am going to do whatever else I can to support some new people in place and help really make this community the best that it can be.
Final thoughts from the community. I have, I think, 3. And then there's one person in the back who hasn't been heard yet. And just keep your comments brief. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I was trying to remember this, so y'all forgive me. So my thing is, if you were to stay, if you were to go, I just want there to be a better communication system. I get an email weekly from Glenn, and it generally is the same over and over. So the problem I have is I get bored reading it, so I don't actually always read it. So I think you need to find different communication methods to reach out to people. I'm not going to lie, I don't think I'm leaving here with a more positive viewpoint as I did in the past 2 meetings, because I did have hope. I think everybody has the right to prove themselves, and I understand what everybody on the front row is saying. So I do wish the Senator the best of luck, and I really hope y'all can communicate just a little bit better, because I was a little confused by the meeting of leaders upstairs that didn't include the members of Charlotte Black Pride or Charlotte Pride or Charlotte Business Guild, or people who have proven organizational skills to run, because I was next door having a different meeting, and I wasn't invited. So I felt that was a little bit offensive. So if you're serious about change, maybe reach out to the people.
I'd like to make a suggestion for a solution to this problem. First of all, I want to thank the new chairman, because I think you've done a superb job of trying to explain what you're trying to do. And I actually have faith that you actually are serious, intelligent, and capable. That having been said, I also know a few people sitting in this front row. You say you need board members.
Yes.
In my opinion, if you commit your $500 and add these people to your board today, and then you start to meld the community and make the community work with each other, and some of you on the left side are going to be going away. Let's just face it, that's necessary. But I think this group, I have confidence in. Edward is a fine fundraiser. And I've seen his work. I know I have confidence in him. And it's not just events, as this woman who's apparently left said.
So I'm going to use this to reiterate. I'm not from here. I'm coming from states where we do things different. I kind of have 2 points. One, earlier in the discussion, we're just 7 people. The board is 7 people. Kentucky passed a state fairness ordinance. Did research that proved 87% of Kentuckians are for fairness laws across the state with a board of 5. A board of 5 who were dedicated, passionate, and who were there for all the right reasons. That being said, I think at the end of the day, the one thing that you learn when you study nonprofit work is that you are there to serve your community. And the answer of your community is that there are many of you that they do not want on the board. They don't want to participate. They don't believe in you. They don't have faith in the board. And so I'm going to reiterate, if you truly care about the center, if you truly care about this space, hear the voices of your community, hold your head high, and politely and respectfully resign.
There are two more community voices, and then we'll hear from the board, and we'll end tonight. So in the back there.
I just have a quick question for Nathan. I think that if you all do stay on the board and you add the 7 people that you said that you need on the board, I think that a system of accountability needs to be in place by, I don't know, the board chair, or because this should not happen, and we shouldn't have to have these meetings. I think it's been like 3 this year. And there should never be where no one's paying the taxes, or this should not happen. And it came from the head not making their board members accountable. I don't know what goes on in meetings. I don't know if each board person is supposed to have a monthly report of what's been done, what they're going to do in the future. Everything should be in those meetings, and it seems like nothing's really happening. So I don't know what's going on in those meetings, but it should be accountability, and there should be something in place saying if you're not doing your job, then what will happen then?
Time. And Shane.
So first of all, I know that this went to an emotional part because I think everyone on the board cares. There's no doubt about that. And I think that's genuine and authentic. I think you all really do care. One of the challenges, I think, in leadership and in board management is that you have to make difficult decisions and they can't be emotional. So your former board chair, that was an emotional decision that you felt. So the fact that you're making emotional decisions doesn't help me believe that you can make business decisions, right? The fact that we are still in this space and it costs so much money and you can barely afford to pay that every month, that's a business decision. That can't be about emotions, right? And so that's a real challenge. And I think the last thing I want to say that's new to this discussion is that we don't need to have one board in to start a new organization or a new board. And sometimes out of the ashes, we will rise even stronger. And I think that's where we really need to focus our discussion, because I applaud all these really young faces, right, which are in contrast to the board, that are much more in tune with our community, who I see more out beyond the center. That's what you need. And I so much believe in the new people, right? And Glenn, you and I have talked about, you all could have shown up with a team of 4 and raised over $1,000 at the Queen City Drag Race, right? I asked you to be part of an event at Scorpios where you could have raised money and built out your brand with young people and got people out there talking about it. You tried to make that happen, but it took a month and a half to make a decision on an event. That's not effective.
And final thoughts.
Well, first I apologize. I am a very emotional person. I really am. I have a serious passion, and it really shows in my face. Everybody that knows me knows that I have a passion for the LGBT community. I do the best I can. No excuses. I'm not perfect, and neither is anybody else. I'm not perfect. But I do believe in this board. I do think we've made what y'all asked for, and no matter what you ask for and we give you, you're not happy. So it's really something else that you want. And that's really what that was all about from day one. That's how I feel. This is a personal opinion. We did what you asked. We changed things. We made a membership. Somebody wanted that from way back. Y'all used to have it. We brought all the stuff that you asked for, and you're still not happy. When are you going to be satisfied and start supporting the center again? Or join us? That's what I would like to say.
We actually just talked, and all of us here agreed that if Crystal and Roberta step down, all 6 of us will join the board today.
I don't agree with that. Speak up. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I know Roberta's talking, but that's just ridiculous.
I want to thank you all for coming out here today, because it does show that as a community, and when we work together, it really does show what we can do. And I really think it is important that we extremely work together, and whether this works, you know, I mean, of course, I have to look at, you're right, I have to look at $650 in the bank, and I worry. I mean, I'm a real person. I worry. I'll be here Monday, because I'm here for the community. I mean, what's going to happen, I don't know. I can't tell you. I mean, I have to put my faith in my board at this moment, you know, but I understand exactly where you're all coming from, and I want to thank you all so much. You know, I'm here for all of you. You know, I mean, when it comes to all you prison, I mean, I love you guys. I mean, I really do. But I mean, this has been a hard couple of days. And so, but, I mean, and I think, I mean, but really thank you all so much. Thank you.
Any other thoughts from the board? I do want to echo, but I really appreciate you guys coming out on Sunday. This is a huge, and I'm going to get emotional on it. I'm sorry. You know, it's the passion. It's what we do, right? So anyway, I want to thank you for coming out. I really feel like, for one, hopefully, as we move forward, this becomes more of a positive than negative when we all really get involved. I will say, again, we're all volunteers. And what I don't like is when we have a volunteer come out and we kind of push them away. Even if they're not working, right? Or even if they don't show up like we want them to, right? So I'm sort of that peacemaker a little bit. So just know we're all volunteers, and we try. And there's a place for everyone in this community. Every single person in our community, there is a place. So I say embrace, and then we'll work together. So.
Does everybody want to stay for another few minutes and share? Or no, wrap up? Let's take a vote.
Yeah,
Raise your hand if you're done. Raise your hand if you want to stay for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And anyone that wants to leave is welcome to. Okay, so the folks who want to stay, we'll take some additional comments. Here and then here. Yes. Yes. Victoria. I'm sorry.
I wanted to thank the board, because I know, being a board member myself and in various of the LGBT organizations and other organizations in my past, it's really hard work. And you can just, you know, work your head off and feel so frustrated. And I hear the frustration. And I know the individuals, you know, several of the individuals here, and I know they work like mad and they care from their heart. And I think we owe them thanks for the hard work they've done, and it is really tough to be in the line of fire. And I agree also about that there should be a place for everybody, and if a person wants to volunteer, they should be allowed to volunteer. At the same time, it's got to be something that's permeable, and if these, you know, young people particularly, or other people who are maybe older like myself, would like to join the board and work, since they are few and they do need help, why not, you know, not place the stipulations, instead just come in, join in, and the people who really have a plan hopefully will emerge, because it's got to come down to the plan again. People have said it several times. A plan has got to emerge fast, and more minds are going to be better than fewer. We've seen that things happen a lot with the Charlotte Business Guild and an evolution that took place over that, and it's just, you know, emerged wonderfully. And it was a step-by-step process to make it more diverse and happen. The same thing can happen here. So I hope that you guys that, you know, are coming here with your good energy and your hard work and your hours can join it without those stipulations, but then, you know, work it together. I mean, there's a lot of you, right? So you can outweigh the people potentially that you may disagree with, but come together with all the good ideas, the older ideas that are good and the newer ideas that are good, and see if we can't form something new that we can feel confident in. Any one of these people, we might, if we were voting, we might vote in again if we felt that there was a plan. I think that's really the bottom line. Allowing new energy to come in easily, and communication to happen, and a plan emerges that we all are made aware of.
I'm Steve Bentley, and I've worked with a lot of boards, I've been on a lot of boards, I have fired a lot of boards, And I want to echo what Vicki said and really encourage you guys to step forward and join this board. And then I would ask all of you to seriously consider engaging outside professionals to come in and work with the combined board to create some ground rules for communication, to help you develop this plan, which I'm not sure, that's a huge task. I mean, Shane said earlier, it took him 8 years to do it and make it work. But it can happen. But I'm not sure that you can do it alone. And there are professionals out there who will help and who would, I think, could really make this all work. And you're not going to like everybody. I've worked with a lot of contentious boards. Sometimes contentious boards create the strongest organizations if you're willing to listen to each other. So I hope you'll move forward with that.
I'm going to say this because I respect Steve so much. And I think that the consensus in this group, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I'll speak for myself, is that there's so much tax liability here. There's so much illegal workings that have been going on. If we could join and truly be heard by this body, then I think that we would be willing to at least sit down to see if we could work together.
Not only that, one of the biggest issues about, like, I don't have a problem with anybody on this board either. One of the biggest issues is the people that would love to give money and help the center have said that the people that are on the board right now, they will not give any money to the center. So it doesn't matter if we go and get on this board, they're not going to get any money to sustain themselves. It does not matter. We can work 60 hours a week. If we join this board, won't matter. They're not going to get money. Banks, everything. Everybody has said that. So it doesn't matter.
Who's everybody? Who is everybody?
I'll talk.
Yeah. I just don't understand.
I hear what Nate and what Mel are saying, and I think that there is significance to what they're saying, but I'm wondering if maybe like we as a community and as a board could come up with some kind of compromise in which all of us sit down and say, okay, let's have this conversation again in a month with the new board in place and give them the chance, give everybody the chance to work together, to come up with a game plan and to present it to the community. And if the donors at that point still don't have faith with the strength of the plan or with how we're going to go forward, we can address it at that point. But I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do to work with, because you have the experience, and I don't not have faith in you, but sometimes it just takes a new perspective. And I think that you have very strong, great people that want to be able to help you. So I'm just wondering if we could work together rather than separate, because I also would hate for this board to feel like everyone's pushing out the door and then for these 6 people to never walk in the door again, because we're losing great assets if we lose this entire thing.
I know that Crystal and Bert, works with Crystal Steele and Jimmy, the record speaking for itself, and Randy, obviously, we're getting to know Randy. And the factor is the business guild had a meeting in May. The business guild had a meeting in May right up here where we invited Roberta and Lynn in to talk to us because the business guild came up with an idea called Front and Center. And Front and Center is an opportunity for all of our business members to manage money to the center that the guild would hold in a bank account and pay you monthly, so that way if the center collapsed, our businesses would not be liable for all the money for the entire year. It's a very smart program. We were told in that meeting, in which my board unanimously voted in favor of supporting this board. Unanimously, when we had so much contention and people were pissed off about town hall meetings, our board put Lynn and Roberta through the ringer and asked questions, and then we unanimously voted. We started work on a splash page for the website. All the membership packages that our new members get will see center ideas on it, and they get one of your stickers with that program. But we were told in that meeting, and I had to go back and check the minutes to make sure that I was right, that the center was sustained through the end of July. This is the continuation of why, echoing what Nate said with businesses, has nothing to do with Crystal or Bert. It just has to do with the community's constantly told something, just like you were presented paperwork but never told you weren't paying taxes. It's not necessarily the board's fault, ultimately, but your fiduciary responsibility is to find out that information. And I think that the Business Guild, looking at the businesses that we have, and our major corporate sponsor is Fifth Third, is that they've seen us implement a program, and our assurance to them was that they're sustained through the end of July, so we're kicking this off in July, and we're going to put the page up with this, and all of a sudden they read in the newspaper, or they will tomorrow, that there's $617 on hand. I look like a liar. My board looks like a liar. We voted something in that can't be sustained because now they're not sure. And it's not that the businesses don't trust Crystal and don't trust Bert and doesn't trust, because I don't think personally any of you are responsible. I think they don't trust the idea because there's too much misinformation. Things don't match, and that's one of the biggest issues.
We'll take one more community comment, final thoughts, and then we're going to be done. 3 minutes.
Okay. Before we are done, I don't know if it is the forum for the new members to join, and I totally understand what Mel was saying, like, yeah, no, we don't want to join this board because the community don't want to help this board, but there would be the possibility of these members joining the board today and having a larger board, and then you can go there for 6 hours or so. I mean, we are not going to resolve this, but you can resolve who can stay in the board, you can vote themselves, you can vote who stays in, who goes out, and anything else, but have that discussion among yourselves in a board. I don't know if that's possible or not, and I don't know, and it can be done today, that decision, so to put the community at ease and move forward with something that can be constructive instead of all going home after spending 3 hours here and with the same situation.
Again, like my fellow board members have said, thank you all for coming out today. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. I hear you, we hear you, we understand. We care about the center and the LGBT community just like you. I agree with some statements that have been made. I don't agree with some statements that have been made. But at the end of the day, they are here. We have to deal with them. I'm taking the necessary steps to rectify the tax situations. I'm taking accountability for, or we're taking accountability for not paying attention to what is going on. I'm looking for people to fill the vacant slots so that we can have the correct documentation, the correct numbers to have this center audited as it needs to be so that we can get where we need to be. I am for being 100% transparent with every person in this room, the LGBT community, the city, the state, the county, anybody that wants to know, I will tell you. Yes, we do have $617 in the bank account. That is not a lot. That is not the amount that we need to make it through the month of June. I want to know, well, I'm going to make the necessary steps to increase the money that is in the account by the end of the month, hopefully. We have committed as a board, like I said, for $500 to put into that budget for the month of June. If we have to sell 5 stickers every month, I believe we're willing to do that until we get to a point where, okay, let's sit down and see other ways of doing it. Because the sticker is going around, it's going to get bored. That is not, it's not a fundraiser, but that is what we have to depend on at this time. All we can ask that community comes out and support our events, support the initiatives that we have going, and you all help us. Communicate with me, call me, text me, email me, anything you need, let me know. I have, like I said, talked to Glenn about getting with the community leaders. I know the meetings have taken place before, but I can't take responsibility of what Roberta didn't do.
So point of clarification, as a chair right now, are you going to add the 5 new board members or take action on that? I just want to understand. You haven't addressed that, and that would be a good conclusion point.
That will be able to happen on the 3rd Wednesday of this month.
That's correct.
For
We would like to do that now, but because of the bylaws, we can't say, okay, all in favor say
So, point of clarification, if we could, because I really sincerely mean this, I'm not trying to create problems, okay? Point of clarification, what I want to hear from you, if you agree, is that you make a commitment that on the third, whatever, according to your bylaws, that you will consider and actually appoint these individuals to be part of your...
You all just did an emergency bylaw meeting, whatever, change 2 days ago?
No, that's not correct. We had already been working on these bylaws since when was the meeting that we talked about bylaws? So everybody asked us to adjust the bylaws. It started in January.
But didn't you have to be in the work for a year before you do the chair?
So just to focus on the issue at hand, make sure we get a time for prompt answers. When and what is the process to get
Third Wednesday.
this month,
Third Wednesday.
we are going to, I'm going to actually ask them to put out the applications now.
We've already applied.
Yeah.
We had two. Yes. So those are the two.
So
the rest of everybody sees their applications.
To answer your question, the third Wednesday, yes I am. Yes, we are going to go for that.
We can go on for weeks like this, y'all. There's so much motion. The conversation, there's so much to talk about, but we really have to wrap up. If you have a question about the process of applying, can they come to you right now after we wrap up in a formal capacity and talk about what's individual?
I also have a copy of the current bylaws. I'll put my computer up here. The center board is not aware of what their own bylaws say.
And we're formally wrapping up the meeting.
I'm assuming all the board members were told you have a quorum.
People have their hands raised. We can't keep going on. But what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up this formal group conversation. But if you do have concerns, you can address members of the board. I'm sure can they come to you after the meeting.
Thank you.
We don't need a whole town hall to have a conversation. Pull up a chair. I mean, that's where you're sitting, Jim. Have a seat at the table. Y'all come
It's good for you for speaking up, man. I just don't know what to think.
Thank you, Sarah and Barbara.